Hey guys, it's me and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be super fun. We're going to be talking about the 3 books that I love the most in the month of February. Now, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more cute bookish videos. February was a super good reading month for me. I read a total of 13 different books, and I also read a variety of different ways, whether that be a physical book, an audiobook, as well as my Kindle Unlimited. I love Kindle Unlimited. That's predominantly where I read most of my books from, but I do like to mix things up every now and then with a really good audiobook and just by going to my local library or picking up a favorite 5-star read in a physical version. So today's video, we're going to be focusing on kind of those 3 categories: physical book, audiobook, and Kindle Unlimited, and kind of going through my favorites for each of those. Starting off with my favorite physical book, I would have to say that needs to be none other than My Friends by Fredrik Backman. This was actually my book club's pick of the month for February, and my book club has been meeting for almost 5 years now, which is crazy to me that we've been this consistent for so long. One of the book club girlies picked this one, and I'm really glad that she did. I've never read a Fredrik Backman book before, and this one really took me by surprise. As somebody who loves a plot-driven story, this one would be a little bit off-putting for somebody like me, but the writing to me really stood out in this story and really kept me engaged the entire time. My Friends is following kind of this like lore behind a famous painting. There's a famous painting that comes into possession by this troubled teenage girl, and she inherits this and decides to sell it. So on her way to sell it, she ends up kind of forming this adventure with this unlikely man who is one of the kids that is painted in this painting. And on their adventure, he's giving her the lore and the backstory behind how the painting came to be. He's kind of giving insights into the lives of these friends that are in this painting, as well as the painter himself. She feels very deeply connected to this painting just based upon the type of emotion that it elicits. And you get a really deep sense of feeling for nostalgia as you're reading this book. There's a lot of character work that is going into this book that is showing how impactful our childhoods can be, and the types of friends that we come in contact with have very lasting impressions upon us as we grow up. And I just had such a sense of that throughout My Friends. You really get a deep personal connection to each of these characters. And yeah, just overall has a really great nostalgia kind of undertone to it. So yeah, my first favorite would have to be My Friends by Fredrik Backman. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite Kindle Unlimited book that I read in the month of February. I have been going down a buddy reading rabbit hole with different Frida books along with my sister. She's on like a spring break kind of right now with her university, and we decided to pick up The Perfect Son by Frida. And this happened to be my favorite of hers that we read for the month of February. If you're not familiar with Frida books, I would consider most of her books to be very popcorn style mystery thrillers. There's a lot of unhinged characters. A lot of her plot twists kind of center around like female rage. You definitely get a sense for that in The Perfect Son. And what this book does is it's following this family in a very wealthy suburbia, East Coast kind of area, and we're getting each of these family members' different perspectives. So one day, though, there is a local girl from the high school that goes missing, and the son in the family is the last person to see this girl at all before she goes missing. So he becomes central in this like police investigation case. And it's really, really cool to see like how each of the different characters are like connected to this. Without giving too much of this away, I had a really good time trying to guess like the overall like whodunit in the mystery. And I also just love books that focus more on like the crime detective element and like crime investigation pieces of a story. I think it ends up being a lot more like engaging. So for this one, I read it within like an entire day, and I think this is a book that you could easily binge within like a day or two. It's just very fast-paced writing. It's not like overly complex by any means, and it's just a really fun time. I will say that this book has some mild cursing that's like included in it, so just keep that in mind if you pick this up. But for the most part, this is a relatively tame, thriller. You're not going to have too much blood and gore. You're not going to have some of those more like sensitive adult topics that you would typically see like in a more grungy mystery thriller. Frida Books do come with like trigger warnings on her website, so I would just check that out if you end up picking up this book. But if you do pick this up with like a family member or you're reading it with your kids, I would say this is probably appropriate for like high school and above. So yeah, this one was a really fun one to read with my sibling, and I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for a Kindle Unlimited book. The last favorite book that I read in the month of February has to be an audiobook that is none other by Ariel Lawhorn, and it's called The Frozen River. This book was recommended to me by one of my best friends, and she said it's one of her favorite audiobooks of all time. And my friend also only listens to audiobooks as her form of like book intake. So I knew I had to take her at her word, and I'm so glad that I did, because this book was absolutely spectacular. It's one of my favorite historical fiction reads I think I've ever read personally. If you're not familiar with The Frozen River, this is a historical fiction reimagining, retelling of a true event. So we're following our main heroine, who is a midwife in the 1800s living in Maine, and there happens to be a huge murder scandal that occurs throughout the community. So she ends up becoming kind of a central figure in this murder case, despite the fact that she's a midwife, and her diary becomes called into question as part of evidence. And that's because her diary is very meticulous. She does a really good job with keeping notes and kind of the inner happenings of the town. She has to care a lot about all of these different families that are about to give birth and also keep up with them once after the fact. So because of that, she is privy to a lot of different situations, and she sees a lot of things in the happenings of the town as opposed to some other people. So because of that, her journal is like very centrally used in this case and ends up being refuted in the court, and she helps solve this murder. So this book, what really stands out to me is the character work and the overall just like research and care that went into this. The main girly, the main heroine in this story, is somebody who cannot stand any form of human injustices, and she is just somebody who can see through BS like so quickly, as well as just being able to be a strong woman and stand up to some of these like oppressive men and oppression that is occurring during this day and age. She has like no tolerance, zero tolerance for any of this. She will not rest until the case is closed and the murderer is brought to justice. And because of that, I think this book really deserves like a highlight and 5 stars. If you are somebody who loves strong women characters throughout history, a lot of Ariel Lawhorn's books seem to focus on these true stories of women throughout the ages, and just kind of the crazy things that they have overcome in their life. And her research and care that she goes into her writing, it does a really good job of kind of showcasing the like brave moments of these women. I would definitely recommend The Frozen River as an audiobook. I think the narrator did a really good job with all of the different voices. They also just did a really good job with like inflection and kind of showcasing the more like tension points within the story. So yeah, I definitely would say I would pick up the audiobook again if I had to do a reread. I think I would do that as opposed to a physical copy, just because the story is so amazing and the fact that it was narrated so well just really stood out to me. So that's it for the February wrap up for all of the 3 different types of books that I love, both physical, Kindle, and audiobook. If you guys liked this type of format, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll do another one for the month of March. But yeah, thanks so much for watching today's video, and again, don't forget to like today's video and subscribe to my channel for more cute bookish content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!